Welcome to the Healthy Habit Hot Seat, where we chat to extraordinary humans and world-leading health experts to dive deep into the intricacies of the daily habits that have shaped their success. Remember, success leaves clues, right? I'm your host and resident healthy habit coach, Loz Antonenko, and I cannot wait to help you re-energize your life so you too can create opportunity, vitality, and abundance to become the master of your own incredible healthy destiny. Now, let's get into today's conversation. Today I speak with Sarah Maxwell, former professional beach volleyball player. Married to Natalie Cook, who represented Australia and won a gold medal at the 2000 Olympics, Sarah also represented her birthplace, Canada, in the sport for 8 years and reigned as national champion for 2 years. Today, she is a professional network marketer. Sarah holds a neuroscience degree with a master practitioner level NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, as well as hypnosis, energy alignment, and speaker level training, which she started to incorporate a relationship with her training business in the game. As an alignment coach, Nat loves goal setting and continues to reach for gold every single day. Sarah Maxwell, welcome to the Healthy Habit Hot Seat. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful day. So, imagine that we are waiting in line at the supermarket and we've got about 30 seconds before we leave and go on our merry way into our separate lives. What would be your most important message for our listeners?
I think my most important message is around fulfillment. Like doing the things that actually juice you up in life.
Okay.
And all the other stuff is just helping you find that. You know, it's sort of like indicators and you're either going away or toward them.
So everything is about serendipity?
I do think we come with a purpose, we come with a reason. You know, I have a 4-year-old and I really get that she came here for a reason and that I'm just, you know, I'm along for the ride. And, you know, people used to always say about her, oh, she doesn't smile a lot. It was literally like she was born observing, taking it in, plotting, planning. And it reminded me that every teacher I had used to say to me, oh, you never smile. And I did not remember that until I hear people say that to her all the time.
The reflection of the things that we need to learn. That's what kids are, and the other people that we manifest and bring into our lives. I love that. Thank you for sharing. So, growing up, you always loved sport, and you used to backflip in the snow.
I'm Canadian. Can you tell? Look, I was obsessed with sport. Eventually I had 3 brothers, but at the time I had one brother, and he was really sporty too. So he played baseball. This is a Canadian thing. And he was he was a natural athlete. And for me, I used to watch sport on TV. My mom was a marathon runner. And my dad was actually, this makes me sound really sporty, but because I didn't live with my dad most of my life, but he was also a professional golfer. So on some levels, sport was always a big deal. And I became obsessed with gymnastics. And my brother's the natural, I'm the work hard athlete. And I would be out in the backyard perfecting this backflip. The snow is really good. Aussie.
It's like a natural crash pad.
It is. Not as good as you think, but still better. And so I would just do it over and over and over and over until I realized that I was like a giant for gymnastics. Like literally. I was 5'9" in grade 7. So I was always tall, just like my daughter. She's like a giant. And I wasn't made for that sport. So then it was soccer. And I would just do the kicks over and over and over. Yeah. So it was very much repetition. That was my gig.
Right. And so at what point did you decide that you were going to pursue a career as a professional athlete?
You know, I always wanted to be the best. I was like uber competitive. Only now do I see that, honestly, that comes from my mom. It's interesting how I had a coach early on that said it was about my mom. And I was like, no way, because my mom wasn't necessarily the sporty one, but she was competitive.
Right.
And look, to probably a detriment, okay? Like it didn't always go well, but I always wanted to win at all costs. So yeah, I was that kid.
So Tell us a little bit more about, what happened after sport. Because I hear with a lot of athletes, the obsession and the drive is, what leads you to success in your sport. Because basically success in the eyes of an athlete is about hitting a metric.
If I had stopped after uni or playing indoor for Canada, I would never have got the next piece, which is what you're asking about identity, because I started to heal inside of the sport. So after 24 was my beach volleyball career. And this is where I was starting to have coaches that were talking about things that were way bigger than volleyball. So I was so lucky to have, so my partner's gold medal winning coach was an American guy, and he was deep, man. This guy was like, for anybody that knows who Carlos Castaneda is, like, this stuff is, I didn't know who that was. And he was talking about things like the law of attraction before anyone had coined that term.
Right.
Not that it didn't exist, but people just weren't writing books about it or talking about it. So basically, my volleyball sessions were life sessions. So that is what allowed me to retire in peace.
So you've had quite the ride, obviously, in your career, but you're a bit of a science geek at heart, and you have a bachelor's degree in psychology. Over the years, you've worked as a psychologist for the Australian Olympic archery team, and you've also served as like a change management consultant in the corporate sector. When you made the transition from athlete to coach, what was going on for you at that point in your life, and how did you deal with the fear of the unknown?
So I feel like it wasn't this drastic transition. It was more like, this is what I'm already doing in terms of the sporting world, and I'm just going to legitimize it. So I was very interested in relationships. So beach volleyball is two people on a court. When I watch a game, I watch, how are the people relating to each other? Like, that's the kind of stuff that my coach was stimulating, but the kind of stuff that I've always been interested in. So it's funny, I don't feel very science-minded. The irony of me having a science degree is because I'm interested in human behavior.
Right.
So I went, this is the elitist approach. What is the most successful way to do that degree? Let me just up it and make it a science psychology degree.
You met your wife, Nat, when you were playing volleyball against each other, representing your respective home countries. Through your achievements and experiences with the art of manifestation, and now that you've retired from sport, you've both created fulfilling lives as masters of visualization, so using energy, flow, all the things we just spoke about. Over the last 12 months, what would you consider to be your most poignant moment or your highlight, either professionally or personally? Because I think for both of those things, they really are quite intertwined.
I think it's really interesting. I would say traveling full-time as a family. So manifesting living abroad for 12 months in Switzerland, I think would be something that brought us into even calling this a manifestation process. Now, I have been listening, like digesting this idea that we are the creators of our life. I love Abraham Hicks, and have when nobody else did, and Nat thought I was a crazy person. But me and my beach volleyball partner in 2003 really started to use these principles in our career. And, I remember being like 37th in the world, I think, when we were kind of getting started and training and working hard and doing all the right things and having expectation, the sense of like, but now we're professional. Now we work hard. Now we have a coach. Now we do this. Now we are sponsored. And expectation can really freaking kill your mojo. And our coach, being so aware, he said, oh yeah, this will kill your mojo. And we're like, no, it won't, because we will force it. So here's a little physics. Let's bring that back. Every force has an equal and opposite counterforce, and the counterforce was frustration, us feeling like a career of 37 when we were really probably putting in the hours of definitely a top 20 team. Anyway, so we start this out of desperation, as you do. What could work? What could we do? And in comes Abraham Hicks, and it was just sort of like, what? Like left field, all my believability stuff was coming up. My skeptic was in overdrive, like, this is wacky. However, I would become engaged in it. And then our playing would just became smoother, more flow. And I remember when we were seventh in the world, I remember thinking, we created this. Like, being in the top 10 was something that was massive for us. And we created it from a place that was so far from the top 10 that when it happened, we were very clear that we created it. Now, let me get to now and going to Switzerland. It's like, Nat and I realized that going to Switzerland, everybody would look at us like, you can't do that. You can't just up and leave Australia. Like, and we were thinking, how can you not do that? So the process and steps were, Nat goes, this is exactly what I did to win a gold medal, to move from bronze to gold. This is it. These are the same steps.
Like a blueprinted step.
It was. And of course, the words weren't exactly the same, but it was sort of like this sense of there is a system to this. We are doing something similar. So whether it was what I was doing in 2004 to 2008, that transition, what Nat did to win gold in 2000, here we were in Switzerland, deliberately creating that experience.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be something that I love, because then we created our first podcast out of that. It was like, hey, let's share these steps. So that was the inception in 2019 of our first go at podcast.
Yeah, so it was like almost you woke up to this fact that you have engineered this reality by following these steps, and you could then start to replicate that in other areas of your life.
Totally.
Like what you've heard so far? Head on over to lozlife.com. That's LOZLIFE.com and download my 5 simple hacks to level up your life today. Now, back to the show. You've helped thousands of people really unleash their potential using your 3-step process, which we just described. So it's all about dream manifestation. And in your podcast, which is the Nat and Sarah show, guys, just in case you were wondering what that was.
Don't ask why her name is first. Don't even ask that. You go listen to
the alphabet.
Yeah, she listened.
So you live and breathe your purpose every single day by living to your highest values. What would your values be if you had to basically break your value system down to your top 3? And who do you surround yourself with to keep your values manifesting every day?
Understanding my values is me going, what is the thing that I tend to choose most often?
Yeah.
So I would say one of my highest values is being in the present moment. So another value, and I don't know if it's the same as present moment thing and being in the moment, but awareness. Like, I think it's a really high value for me to be aware of how I'm showing, like, what's going on. My third value is relationships. My theory with law of attraction is when you wax, they wane. And what that means is, like, when you move this way, the people that aren't really aligned to you just kind of move that way. And
what's been your greatest journey, part of your journey so far in motherhood?
There's your, like, 101, 201, 301 on present moment. You know? Like, they're the teacher. My philosophy is that she's raising me. And, oh yeah, hello. Like, I used to talk about joy to other people. I used to write about joy, but I never experienced it really. And it was just a concept. Maybe a desire, something I wanted, but I was even speaking of it as if I knew it, but I didn't know it. And I felt it when she was born. And by the way, I could have gone either way with kids. I wasn't like pining. And then I wasn't pining because I really just didn't know yet.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what I didn't know. And so then this immense amount of joy of experiencing her in the baby form, but then it was really getting, as she got older, how in the moment she is. And the joy, like, we traveled around the world with her, right? So we did a whole year where we call it our midlife cleanse. That's what Nat was calling it. It's hilarious. And it was just like cleansing and really amazing to look at the world through her eyes. So she's raising me around presence, around playful joy, imagination, actually.
So to close this wonderful interview that we've had today, it's a big question, but what would be your top tip to living a fulfilling and purposeful life. So you've spoken about being in the moment. Would you say that would be your top tip, or is there another way to sort of phrase what it is that you're thinking?
I would say just say to yourself, there's nothing wrong here. Everything's going to be okay. And you're exactly where you're supposed to be. These are my kind of mantra to myself, because I think there was a whole other mantra going on all the time. This sense of like, I need to get where I'm not. But like, what if everything's okay? And for me, I just like, something happens, I just drop. I'm like, okay. I start breathing better. And then from that space, I can say, well, even the things I don't like in my life are indicating something to me. They're actually helping me to formulate what my joy is, my happy place, you know? So even if it's in a relationship, it's like the things that are going on are helping me to script my future relationship. And one of my ahas that I love giving to other people, because it's massive, is I think most of us aren't keeping up with who we've become. So the unhappiness or the sense of angst is just us holding us back. And in that moment, when you get that everything's okay, it's an automatic catch up.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, remember this whole downstream versus upstream? My old approach was, ooh, now I need to catch up with who I've become. Start running. No. This is like, there's no homework. Even here with this conversation, no notes.
Yeah.
Just knowing that you're okay will like drive you downstream and catch you up. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe line you up with exactly who you've become. Because any of the angst is just the resistance that that's a truth. And the minute I go to bed at night and I'm like, everything's okay here. Everything's okay. It's like, boom, line up. So for me, that's fulfillment.
So remember, guys, in the moment that you've got right now, we've come to the end of our interview, but there is another one coming up. Ooh. Everything right now in this moment as you're listening to this, everything is perfect and it's exactly where it needs to be, and you are exactly aligned where you need to be. So just so be it.
And just one last thing that my coach used to say to me, he used to say, can you accept that you don't accept? So if you're in that place where you're in something very intense and what we just said does not feel right, just even being able to accept that you don't accept that, there's healing power in that. What
a great way to end. Thank you, Sarah, for joining me on the Healthy Habit Hot Seat.
Thanks for
and
having
I look forward to chatting to you again on the next episode, where we dive a little bit deeper into the daily intricacies of what you actually do and the habits that you have that have led you to where you are today.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Healthy Habit Hot Seat. Make sure to visit lozlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Google Podcasts and Spotify, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, I'd be stoked with a 5-star rating on iTunes. Better still, tell a friend and share the love. If you loved this episode, you might want to check out my book, The Healthy Habit Handbook, available in softcover, ebook, and audio form on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Balboa Press, and all good bookstores. Be sure to tune in for our next episode for your fortnightly dose of inspiration from some of the world's most successful and healthy lifestyle masters. Remember, stay inspired. I'm Loz Antonenko, and ciao for now.